Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for the Q&A, so let's get to that first question. Alright, Jason, I have been cutting down since December, down 20 plus pounds now. I'm 6'1" and 218. I'm starting to get really fatigued and recovery not what it used to be. I feel like strength and stamina are fading too. Should I eat more carbs and lose weight more slowly, or taper off on the extra cardio, just gut it out? What would you do, FYI, doing squats and deads at 75% twice per week, and upper body widowmaker twice per week? Lots of LISS cardio on top of this, and on off days. Thanks as always, and the home gym looks great. Thank you. I'm really happy with the home gym too. All right, brother, let's step back and assess this for a moment. This is now late April. So is it fair to assume that you've been cutting at least, what, 20 weeks? 20 weeks, 16 weeks, something like that? You're reaching that threshold. And again, there's some data on this. If you guys remember that debate Dr. Mike Israetel did with Dr. Eric Helms, one of the things they even noted is that prolonged dieting at a certain threshold, even when you are losing weight slower, can result in more muscle loss. In other words, unless you're morbidly obese, doing a really long cut is probably not a good idea. Now, if you're a really, really fat person who needs to lose 100 pounds, that's fine. Diet for a year straight. Diet for a year and a half so that you lose it more slowly. You're 6'1", 218, you lift. Sounds like you're lifting fairly heavy, and you're wanting to lose a little more weight. Why don't you just chill for a bit? You're now at a point where you've been dieting. We know for a fact you've been dieting at least 16 weeks, maybe more. That's a threshold to where you're going to start losing more muscle. You're going to start losing more strength. Why don't you up your carbs a bit and spend the next 6 weeks maintaining or doing a little tiny clean bulk, meaning you're going to regain some weight. All right, if you've been cutting, you are not really 218. You're 218 while in a caloric deficit. You're going to go up to 221, 222. 223, right? You're going to gain 4 or 5 pounds of water back. Why don't you up your carbs a bit and spend the next 6 weeks regaining about 6 or 7 pounds, right? Go back up to about 224, 225 over the course of 6 weeks. Just go to maintenance or slightly above maintenance. What's going to happen with that? You're going to regain some muscle mass. You're going to regain some work capacity. And you know what happens when you do that? Your energy turnover, your work capacity is going to go back up. When you go back to cutting again after 6 weeks of that, or you can take longer, or you're not in a hurry, you don't have a bodybuilding show, you don't have a photo shoot coming up, do you? So don't rush it. You want to lose another 8 pounds of fat, right? That's going to come off really easy if you regain some strength and work capacity. It's going to come off easier. You're going to burn more calories lifting. You're going to burn more calories doing cardio. You will have regained a little of the muscle that you lost, if not all of it. Gain a little bit of extra muscle, probably more than you had at the start of your cut, and then cut again. It's going to be easier. You're not going to have that fatigue. You're not going to have that loss of strength. You're going to come in strong, and that last 8 pounds you want to lose is going to fly back off. It's going to come off as fast as it did early on in your cut before. Don't try to diet for 6 months straight, right? Don't try to do that. It's not going to work. Take your time with it. Take a little diet break. Like I said, go on a clean bulk, a lean bulk, to where you gain very, very small amounts of weight so that you regain some of what you lost. It's going to make cutting a hell of a lot easier when you go back to it. All right, next question. Jason, how much can you front squat? Well, I only went back to front squatting for 3 weeks. But when I did my end of my 3-week cycle of front squatting 3 days a week, because I was alternating front squats with back squats, I got up to a legit 365 ass to grass. Now, if I keep front squatting, I could probably push that back up. I want to eventually hit a 405 front squat on camera later, but right now I want to work my back squats more, so I stopped there. But I have done a legit 365 in the gym. I have also missed 365 once, so I tried to do it early and missed it, and then 2 days later came back and hit it. So I know for a fact I've done 365 recently, and I think my lifetime best, I've done 405 for a 5 rep set, but I've never treated it as a max effort exercise before. And that was when I was much, much younger and squatting close to 600 at the time on a back squat. But currently 365 is my best. I think I could probably walk in and hit that right now again with no problem. Next question. Regarding nutrition on a diet, can someone use a weekly frame for micronutrients, for example, 2 or 3 days of fatty fish to get my omega-3, and then the rest of the week I keep my carbs up? I perform way better when I get high amounts of carbs. And if this is not a right approach, would you recommend supplementing with something like 5 to 6 capsules of fish oil a day instead? And how much omega-3 would be necessary to maximize protein synthesis? Omega-3 is not a micronutrient, it's a macronutrient. Omega-3s are fat, they have calories, they're not a vitamin or a mineral. But in general, fatty acids like that, you don't even need 3 days. Honestly, if you're trying to get enough omega-3 from a fatty fish without supplementing fish oil, twice a week would be fine. You know, eat some salmon twice a week. Try to get wild catch, not that factory farm stuff. You don't want that. Not going to have as much omega-3. So wild catch salmon would be fine 2 days a week. In general, when we're talking about a lot of these things from the micronutrients, fat soluble vitamins, you don't have to get every day. So technically things like vitamin D3 is a fat soluble vitamin. You could technically mega load it once or twice a week and not be deficient and actually have ideal levels. It's water soluble vitamins that you kind of need on a daily basis. So anything fat related like that is probably fine. And the same thing with your fatty fish. It'd be fine twice a week. If you want to supplement it, just take, you know, whatever. That's one of the few supplements I currently use is fish oil. In fact, I think, yeah, right now that is the only supplement I use. That is the only supplement I take is 3 caps of fish oil every day. That's what I take. So, I mean, you could do that. But what you need to look at when you're talking about protein synthesis, you don't get a protein synthesis advantage from that. That's been looked at. That seems to be overhyped. It doesn't really help much with muscle growth. But what it does help with is overall health. There are health benefits to it. And, you know, your health and everything could matter in the long term. It might affect insulin sensitivity a little bit in the long term, but it's not going to make or break your gains. You're not going to notice more muscle growth from omega-3 fats and muscle protein synthesis, but you are probably going to feel a little better in the long term in terms of your overall health. So it's not a bad idea to make sure you get it all. All right, next question. Hey, Jason. You getting on Bulgarian style training has sparked my interest. I have a few questions about it. And a lot of articles I've been reading, it's recommended to do back offsets after your daily max. But you don't do this, or you haven't said you do it. Also, you put out a video about adding GPP work to stimulate hypertrophy during a max effort training program. Do you still suggest this, and would that take the place of back offsets? No, I'm not doing back offsets. I did do some on my pressing. I've done back offsets on the flat bench, the closed grip flat bench. I've done back offsets on overhead press, or just the press if you want to call it that, when they were stalling a little bit earlier on in this and added a little bit of weight. But at this point, I'm doing so much volume of pressing because I'm doing a lot of days. I'm actually doing two different max effort presses. I'm not worried about the training volume. In fact, I think that as a lot of people pointed out, and I'm realizing more and more doing this again now that I'm getting back into it because I used to do this style of training, volume can kind of be the enemy because volume will impede recovery. Volume will affect how heavy you can lift the next day. Use it sparingly. Use back offsets as plateau breakers, not as your regular thing. Right? And what I would say is that this is where assistance exercises come in. In other words, if you've got energy left to do a back offset on a bench press or a squat, you have the energy to add another max effort exercise that day. What's going to give you more in the long term? Get a little more exercise variation with another max effort exercise to well round your strength. That's my opinion on it. As far as the GPP work, yeah, I think that can replace any sort of volume work for hypertrophy. Pick your GPP accordingly to roughly thinking about where you want to gain muscle, and pick exercises accordingly. But farmers walks, loaded carries of any type, barbell complexes, that stuff will add muscle to you. Sled drags, obviously sled drags would be if you want to be lower body barbell complexes. You could kind of gear them in the direction of where you want to gain muscle, and that can absolutely replace any back offsets, and it's easier to recover from in terms of the volume. So once you get it all dialed in and your work capacity high enough, you should be good to go there without it interfering with your lifting. But you've got to balance it and add it in slowly. All right, next question. Maybe a dumb question by getting too nitpicky, but if you're doing full body Monday, Wednesday, Friday, one compound exercise for 3 sets per body part, would it be better to do one particular exercise for 3 sets or do 3 different exercises for 1 set? For example, you say a push exercises are bench, military press, and dips. Better to do bench on Monday, press on Wednesday, dips on Friday, or do 1 set of bench, press, and dips on Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Thanks. I would not absolutely not do 3 different ones through the week like that. And I sure wouldn't mix them in the same workout. Look, if you're going to come in and train one of these lifts, focus on it for the whole workout. Focus on it for the whole workout. And in fact, the press is a slightly different exercise than the bench. So in some cases, if you're really trying to train everything, you could go ahead and have a vertical press and a horizontal press. I mean, there's no reason you can't do 5 different exercises on a full body protocol. I understand with a lot of noobs, it's popular to do 3 exercises, and that's fine for novices. If you're more of an intermediate trying to do this, or you've finished out most of your noob gains, you may want to go ahead and mix them. So that's fine. Do a bench and military press on the same day. If you want some exercise variation because you're worried about some stalling, rotate in a 3rd exercise like that periodically. In other words, if you feel like you're starting to plateau on those and you need a different training response, then work in dips once or twice a week in place of one of your other presses. But you shouldn't need 3 different exercises, right? What are you going to get from 3 different exercises other than some exercise variation that can be used to break through a plateau or to give you some novel stimulus? You don't. So replace your bench press. You know, you can go ahead and maybe you're going to run bench and overhead press 3 days a week, both on a full body for 6 weeks, and then you start to plateau a bit. Go ahead and replace one of the bench presses with a dip every week, or 2 of it, and keep the bench in 1 day a week and do that for 3 weeks. And as you progress on the dip, you'll get some novel training stimulus, and when you go back to the bench press, you should be able to start making progress again. Look at it from that perspective. Not that you need 3 different exercises. You shouldn't need 3 different exercises. In fact, unless you've got sport-specific reasons, or again, you're trying to get exercise variation to break through a plateau, you probably don't need more than 6 to 7 exercises total per week. If you select them carefully, and I'm talking about for maximum size and strength, to put as much muscle and strength on your body as you humanly can, you're not going to benefit more than 6 to 7 exercises a week across the board for your entire body. And if you do, you probably have selected bad exercises. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.